All right. Hi, everybody. Good evening. So we're going to start our class.
Good evening, sir.
Thank you very much. I was about to ask something. I was about to ask if you could, if you're able to hear me or something like that, but you just preempted conversations in around that. So I'm just gonna see if we can start here in the interest of time. I'm just gonna. And I like placing things in a certain specific way. That way, it's a lot easier for me to retrace my steps, I suppose. So, I was actually having a conversation with. I'm working with. I've been working with a student, Elijah. He's a postgraduate student in the Department of Computer Science, and he's been working together with us on the Enterprise Medical Imaging in Zambia project, and so the scope of work he was focusing on has just been was accepted, right, to be presented at a satellite event at MICAI 2025. Anyway, so he was fortunate enough to have been, given a travel grant and all those things. But when I told him we need to start discussing the changes, because the changes for the camera ready copy are due on the 23rd, I think it is. And then he's been working with us for, I guess, the last more than 2 years now, I guess, a year plus, I want to say. And so he just sends some funny file, right? He creates a funny file name. He creates a file, a spreadsheet tracker with a very funny name. And I had to remind him to say, but sir, Mr. Elijah, sir, and this is important, I guess. It's the learning process, I suppose. I don't know. Mr. Elijah, sir, we have, we've been working together for a very long time, right? We must be consistent in the way we are naming files. We just don't randomly name files. They're named in a certain way so that when you're not around, Elijah, when Lighton is not around, people will be able to retrace our steps. But for some people, I guess it's not very important. For me, it is important, I suppose. Anyways, we're not here to discuss those issues. We are here to have class as part of lecture series number 4. I finished marking your things the other day, and I don't know. I want you to tell me what the problem is here, right? So there's a couple of things here. To be honest, I'm quite disappointed with because my relationship with the Department of Computing and Informatics has largely been restricted to interaction with postgraduate students, right? So people that I supervise, and also I have a master's course that I teach. But I was surprised when I was marking your scripts here. I'm very surprised, actually, to be honest, what I was seeing. I'm surprised that some of you are in 4th year. That's the first thing, right? The other thing is quite disappointed. I know probably you don't really care about this, but quite disappointed with the sheer scale of academic dishonesty in your class, right? I think I'd hinted at some point, when I was shifting people around, right? Especially when I dished out the 26 scripts or something at some point, and there were some characters that decided to leave the room with a question paper. So what I did was I actually changed the questions, right? These were just minor changes, but enough to enable me to know the people that were cheating, right? Now, I can't concretely prove that people were cheating or something, but it's quite sad, actually, when you have a situation where somebody is even failing to write the correct answer when they've been given solutions, right? if you should look at some of the scripts, wrong variable names, right? It's quite sad, really, in my opinion. I know there's probably one or two bad elements amongst you. And here's the thing, right? You must take this seriously. I'm not just saying this because I'm joking. You must take this seriously. I know there's always people, those amongst you that will probably think long and hard before you subscribe to doing something that you know is fundamentally wrong, right? Because if you look at the sheer scale of this malpractice, not that it matters, right? I mean, most of you failed anyway, right? Not that it matters. I guess it's because of the time you had, right, to cheat, is it? And the fact that I tweaked the questions or something like that. But I know that there are some people amongst you that will notice, right, these bad things, will notice that these bad things are happening, and perhaps sometimes you sit there and you wonder, but what can I do, right? I've told you, you can reach out to me in confidence and report these bad elements. They will not know that you are the one who reported them. I promise you that. Because this is fundamentally wrong. Right? I promise you this is wrong. And here's the thing. This is wrong because if you're a good student, right? You know that there's such a thing as a ranking in the university. This person called Hudson, for instance, he wasn't just chosen at random, right? Hudson was like, I don't know Hudson, right? But Hudson was likely chosen because he was a high achiever. Now, if you have people that have been cheating, because if you're cheating at this level, you're probably cheating in first year, in second year, in third year. What's going to happen here is that you will see people, right, being applauded as being best performing female or male student or something, when in actual fact, you know that it was a direct result of them cheating, or at least in part, it's because they were cheating. So you really are putting yourself at a disadvantage, right? If you don't single them out. You know what they say about ethics? You are unethical if you do not report unethical conduct, right? So unethical conduct is not just directly tied to the wrong things, the classical wrong things like cheating or something. If you know that somebody is cheating, you see that somebody is cheating, and you don't report them, you are being unethical, right? Because if you look at the solutions, right? I was marking these things literally yesterday, right? I just wasted my time here. I could have been doing other things instead of marking that garbage, right? But I have to do it anyway because it counts towards the assessment score here. If you just look at what people are writing, it's clear that whoever shared this maybe on some group where there's a vast majority of you. This is wrong, right? Just like killing other human beings is wrong, just like stealing is wrong. If you see somebody doing something wrong, the right thing to do is to report them. If you are scared of repercussions here, you can create a throwaway email, and you know the drill here. You can reach out to me anonymously and report these people, right? And here's the thing. I told you this before. I'm telling you this again, right? I am going to make it my mission to find those of you that are doing the wrong things, right? Because when the time comes, if the time does come when I have kids or something, I would not want them to be taught by people that cheated through university, cheated their way through university or something, right? I would not want people, right, to be in positions of power, in influential positions when they cheated their way through university, because these are the people that bring society down. If you look at the mess around you, right, just look at UNZA. If you look at the mess around UNZA, right, you go in a venue and there are no chairs, right? You go in a venue and, the course conveners go to move around with a projector. It's because of the rot, right, that is created right now. This is what we're doing right now. But I know, I'm just talking to myself here. I'm not getting through to you, but I needed to say that nonetheless. It's important sometimes to rant and vent so that people know, right? I hope you figured out that my value system is different. And I promise you, right, if I catch you, you are coming back to do this course next year. If I find you and there's compelling evidence that proves that you've been cheating in the course, right? It's called academic dishonesty. I will go as far as I can go here. And by the way, you probably want to read the policy, right? The UNZA policy about academic dishonesty here. Anyway, I thought I would mention that, but so this is it. Quite disappointed. I'm gonna pause here. I'm gonna stop, and I don't want to talk about this foolishness that has been happening, this fuckery that is happening with your cohort. Maybe it's normal for you. It's been normal since first year, right? But I'm more concerned about the fact that seemingly a lot of people, and I'm genuinely concerned here, a lot of people seem to have trouble, right, with the very basic things here. And I'm concerned because today is August 16th, okay? We're going to be having a major assessment, a so-called test, very, very soon. We have another assessment on Thursday. So I want to find out here what exactly is the problem, right? These were trivial questions here. I mean, there's some people that seem to know exactly what it was, right? They were doing or something, but for the most part, I noticed that a lot of you were struggling, right? Even struggling with the basics to do with programming or something like that. By the way, I mean, I was even lenient in some instances, right? Where, this is a file name, but you use this as a data frame or something. But in instances where I know that in the first assessment, I had things like this, right? I had things like, I think I had something like abstract count here, and then in the other assessment, I just made a minor change. In this other assessment, I had something like abstract valid, right? And you can tell that somebody cheated. You got a 0 for this, right? Because I know you were cheating. You're just copying from somewhere. You were committing these things to memory. But anyway, I wanted to find out, right? And by the way, these are just model solutions. I'm not saying that this is how you should have done this. I'll give you an example of this particular question, for instance, where you are rendering records whose type is, in fact, not or, but and, the and one. There were those of you that were using the is in function, is it? So you got it right? So these are just model solutions. I'm not saying that when you get your scripts, and when you get your scripts, please thoroughly go through them. And if I made a mistake in the grading, please come and see me. I make mistakes. Usually when I'm marking like this, it's a marathon, and sometimes, you can make a mistake here. So if I unfairly graded you, just usually the easiest way is just get a snapshot and then just send me an email and tell me, or if you want, you can come and see me in my office, where I work from now. Yeah, so these are just model solutions available on the Moodle. But I'm trying to find out. So like simple things here. But what exactly is the problem? You were taught how to program in Python. Why are you failing to do simple things? I hope you're playing back these. I've been sending you resources, right? Left, right, and center, as they say. I hope you're going through these things. I send you those things because I know that when you invest time, in some instances, maybe just as little as an hour every day or something, you'll be able to pick up most of the things we're discussing. That's the reason I send those things. I know this, right? So if you're neglecting the materials here, I promise you that by the time we're getting to our very next discussion here, you'll be far gone here, right? You'll be so lost, it will be impossible to redeem yourself. What is the problem? What was the problem with assessment? Okay, anyway, if people want to tell me what the problem is, please reach out to me and share your thoughts if you want. I know there's some people that said they would want to come and see me or something at my office. Please come through. I'm happy to come and chat to you and see how best we can help you. The reason I ask questions is because Hudson will be instructed and told certain key focus areas, right, as he's conducting this tutorial session, so that you understand. Unfortunately, what we're doing here builds up on previous concepts, right? Yeah, but so this is it here, quite sad, really. And so what I've done as well is I sent out an email also telling you that I've told you before that this thing is a moving target. It's constantly being updated. Those of you that have taken heed of my advice and you're regularly checking these things, I think you reach out to me consistently, right? Oh, my scores are not appearing there, right? Or you forgot to indicate my attendance or something, right? Remember, attendance accounts for what, 3%, yeah, and stuff. So if I miss you out, right, on one of these days, if you don't check, right, like for instance, if yesterday you attended class and you didn't check that your name, like Alexander, I don't know why you missed. Oh, Alexander missed class here, but if you notice that there are 0 scores and stuff, right? You let me know, right, so that I can fix this. You understand? And then in terms of the lab assessment, which is tagged as a quiz here, I mentioned that we're going to write 3 of them, is it? So 3 of them. I've already updated the scores for quiz number 1. This is relative to the. So if you look at what Miss Banda, Laus Banda, has here, which is 1.117. This is like relative to the 3.3%, right? So in essence, if you want to check the actual mark that you got when you get the scripts on Monday, the 2 course reps, one of them should come and fetch the scripts from me on Monday or something like that. But when you come and fetch the scripts, when you're looking at your script, right, what you want to do is you want to see the mark that I gave you and confirm that it actually matches with what is in this sheet called individual bar labs, right? So in here, currently I have scores for lab number 1, for instance. Okay. Just make sure that I've indicated the correct mark here again. Sometimes, you kind of like make mistakes or something like that. Right. And again, like I said, it's a moving target. The other things in this spreadsheet, you notice if you scroll to the far right, there are some people, by the way, who have still not forming groups. I don't know what you think you're doing here, right? I'm going to continue deducting marks. If you look at these things here I've been doing, I'm going to continue doing this because you are supposed to do this, right? I will continue deducting 20% every day until you do this assessment. But what you notice towards the end is that towards the end, there are things like, again, it's a moving target. It's out of the 40% from the CA, this thing is going to be changing, is it, the CA score? And then there's a percentage as well, so far, as of now, out of the assessments that we've had. And then I don't know if it's going to be useful here. There's also a rank here, right? It gives you an idea of just maybe how poorly you're performing or how good you're performing or something. I just do a simple ranking. I look at the cumulative CS score and look at who has the highest score, something like that, right? So these numbers towards the end, I rank in class or something like that. Please let me know if I've missed out your details insofar as attendance is concerned, or if you feel I may have made a mistake when compiling. I should have gotten 100% or not 25%. You must let me know. Or before you let me know, what you can do is the same spreadsheet that I've told you to look at, right? This thing here, I know it is also. There's a spreadsheet that I've told you, and some people just don't care here, right? In 4th year, you just it's just it's just free fall, right? You don't care what is happening. But I've told you that the way attendance is done, like what's happening right now, is at the end of class, and I do this religious. At the end of class, what I shall do is I will get the transcript. The transcript looks like this. I'll get the transcript in terms of details of who has attended. It looks like this. I'll get this, right? And then I'll look at how much, whether you've attended or not. So I use these values here. Those values, I hide the sheets here, but I can unhide them. I'm hiding them because I want people to get confused. Those that have not yet filled in their details, like Albert Trevor decided not to. Benjiro Nyoni or something. I don't know why people are just so careless like this, right? You just don't care what is happening. But what I do is I use this lookup table here too. Like for instance, on the 15th, I will check, right? who is this person who logged in as Agnes Kala or something? Oh, this person is the person with ID 2021 455645. Okay. How much time did they attend class? 9 minutes. Okay, it's like 25% or something. This will only happen if you fill in this spreadsheet here, your details here. If there's a blank, like this person who logged in as Royford Kangoji, for instance, or Reginald Last, you have not yet indicated your computer number here. And so as a result, in all likelihood, in all the virtual interactions, right, you're probably getting zeros here. All you have to do is just open the spreadsheet and just type in your computer, just here. I promise you to take you less than 20 seconds. Just here, just type in your computer number. Anyways, and I have these details from as far back as when we started having classes here. So this is from August 16th or something like that, right? And all that stuff. So please find time and do that. I know it says 3 marks or 3% of the course, but it's significant nonetheless, in my opinion. Anyways, so there's that, right? I thought I would mention that. Unless if there are any questions, proceed with our discussion. You see, now we're supposed to be focusing on more important things, but we end up ranting about useless things, right? I have to give you a lecture that your parents and your guardians are supposed to give you, right? About honesty, about ethics, but that's okay. So last time we met, we started our discussion of data representation, right? In essence, we're telling this story that the data that we work with comes from different sources, and when we actually harvest or collect that data, it's usually the case that the characteristics that collectively describe observations, right, in the dataset or instances in the dataset, will be associated with different types, right? We discovered that these different types come in so many different shapes and forms. Typically, the most obvious ones are the so-called traditional types, is it? And so we had a discussion of, or we started our discussion of categorical attributes and continuous attributes. These are like your traditional types of data, the ones we see being used in statistics, for instance, right? This is why I had this diagram here, is it? Categorical, ordinal, numeric, and all that here. Yeah. So again, I've updated the slide slightly so that I include examples as they relate to the dataset that we're using. I'm hoping that it'll be a lot easier for people to follow through here. So we realize that categorical attributes have 2 main types, 3 actually. So you have so-called dichotomous attributes. You also have nominal attributes and ordinal attributes. So with dichotomous attributes, you're looking at it's a specialized form of a nominal attribute, which has only 2 categories. So in our data set, it will be gender. I've even provided you with code on how you can extract this information, right? So you just run the unique function on the series associated with the gender column, and you'll be able to get this list, right, comprising of 2 characters, is it F and M in essence, female and male, right? Yeah, and then we had a discussion on some of the other interesting characteristics, like things like operations that can be performed on dichotomous attributes, in essence. Besides dichotomous attributes, we realize that we have your other type of nominal attributes. So these are categorical attributes that will have 2 or more categories, right? And the key thing here for both dichotomous attributes and your classical nominal attributes is that there's no intrinsic order, is it? The order is not important. It doesn't matter whether you start with F here or you start with male. It's one and the same thing, actually. It doesn't matter whether you're dealing with a female or a male, right? It's the same thing. You view them as the same, in essence, right? So the order is not important. That's key. It's both dichotomous and nominal attributes, right? And I have example code again here. So there's a field called minor classification. There's also a field called minor course, or a minor program. So a minor classification essentially just classifies your program as being a social science centric program or a STEM centric program, right? So if it's a program that's associated with life sciences or physical sciences, it's STEM, is it? And then if it's associated with social sciences like civic education and all those things, then it could be classified as social science. So it's a classic example of, you know, the reason I'm saying this is a classic example of, I don't know whether I should change this, I guess, because I guess I should have changed this because, oh yeah, I don't know what that is. Is that a comment? Yeah, I don't know what's happening here. If you can mute your microphone, I don't know who that is. That would be great. I'm just sitting here and I'm thinking, I think I should alter this and change it in the slide so that I refer to, I must refer to something else here, right? I will change it anyway. I should refer to something else, not. I shouldn't be referring to that field here. I should probably be referring to this, because you notice it's like there are two values, right? There's a now entry. We can't really consider that to be an attribute. So I should have done this instead. Is it? I should have done this instead, right? I'm going to change that in the slides. Apologies for that. Instead of this, I should be looking at something else here. I'm going to change that, but in case I forget, I'm just going to change it right away, just now here. And this is supposed to be this. And instead of minor classification here, I'll just do this. Much better. So that when I do what I did here, hopefully to be able to work. Yep. Then I can snip it already. All right. So but I'll fix this later. You know, sometimes I always forget. So it's best if I do this right now. Life is going to be a lot easier if I do this right away. Yeah, I don't know who that is. If you can just maybe tell him to mute his microphone, that would be really great. Life would be a lot easier for us if we mute our microphones or something. Much better. I always forget to do these things myself, but all right. So there's that, right? And then there's another detailed example here, right? And then the other type of so-called categorical attribute is these are ordinal attributes, right? And the idea behind ordinal attributes is that you're dealing with two or more categories, but the values that they hold have a natural order. This is a key distinction between ordinal attributes and nominal attributes. They're both categorical attributes, but the difference is that there's some order there. And the example from our data set here is the year of study. We know that there's an order associated with a year of study, is it? There's a difference between a first year and the second year. There's a fundamental difference first year and the second year. And in fact, if you sit and you start thinking about this, you begin to realize is that there's a comment here that somebody can't get anything. I hope it's just them. Can you guys hear me? I would hate if I was talking to myself all this while.
Yes, sir, we can hear you.
Okay, all right. Thank you very much. Moses, you want to probably try and check your connection here. So there's some sort of natural order. And if you think about it, right, there's a number of, you know that a number of attributes that you find yourself working with will have some sort of natural order, right? Most of these tasks, these machine learning tasks, you'll be solving, like classification and regression, especially classification. Notice that the attributes, especially dependent variables, for instance, will have some natural order associated with them. Imagine a situation where our problem of students at risk of failing led us down the path where we were trying to predict a multi-class, right? We're building a multi-class classifier where it tells us where it helps us predict whether somebody is going to get an A plus, an A, a B plus, or a B. There's an order here, is it? There's a difference between A plus and A, between B plus and B. The other type of data that typically will have some sort of natural order is survey responses, for instance. On a scale of 1 to 5, could you tell us to what extent you are able to understand CSC 4792, where 1 is I find it extremely hard to understand, and 5 is it's easy to understand? There's an order, right? And typically this Likert scale behind the scenes, it will be like when they tell you it's a 1 to 5 Likert scale, you know that the value on the left extreme side is a 1 and the one on the right extreme side is a 5 or something. Or it could be a 7-point Likert scale or something. Usually it's like odd numbers, right? There's natural ordering there. Anyways, so ordinal attributes. And you soon see, by the way, the reason we're talking about this is simple. We are discussing this because people are even ranking the extent towards which they're understanding CSC 47, 92 here. Okay. Was this an example though? But that's interesting. Yeah, very interesting. The reason we're having this conversation is the transformation techniques that we use when we're transforming ordinary attributes are fundamentally different from when we are transforming so-called dichotomous attributes or nominal attributes, if that makes sense. Right? Again, just some example here. Lighton has, this is I have 18 years of experience working with computers, right? Working in the computer computing industry here, right? There's a difference between, if I ask you how many years of experience, if you even count, well, I'm not counting the number of years I spent as a student at UNZA, right? Like after I graduated here. But if I ask you to like no experience, 0, right? There's a difference in terms of experience between me and you, if that makes sense. Anyways, so we see here that we can already notice here that if you are working with this sort of data here, the positioning of the attributes matters, right? And typically, what you notice when you start looking at the transformation of ordinal attributes is you typically assign weights to these things. So you'd say somebody with no experience is going to be assigned a weight of 1. Somebody with more than 10 years experience is going to be assigned a weight of maybe, I don't know, 10 or something like that. Right? And the estimators, the algorithms they're working with, we know what to do behind the scenes here. Now, again, just to put it all together, we see that categorical attributes have 3 main types. The simplest one being dichotomous attribute. It's a nominal attribute which holds exactly 2 values, like gender, like wealth status, where you're capturing whether somebody is rich or poor, right? Okay. And then we see that if there are more than 2 categories and there's no natural order, you're dealing with nominal attributes. Yeah. If it's supposed to be if, not FF, if the categories, have a clear and meaningful order, like it matters which comes first between first year and second year, you're dealing with ordinal attribute. Again, knowing this information is crucial for the transformation of the data, right? Prior to implementation of the model itself. The other classical type of attribute of attributes is so-called continuous attributes. And continuous attributes will describe a measurable numeric quantity, a number. Well, not really a number here, because when you're dealing with Likert like scale, to be like discrete values, right? If you think about your what do you call this? If you think about your Likert scale, strongly agree, neutral. Well, I don't know why this strongly agree is neutral, and then disagree, and then strongly disagree. Right. What we are doing here is we'll be assigning something like strongly disagree is a 5, agree is a 4, neutral is a 3, disagree is a 2, and strongly disagree is a 1. These are discrete values, right? Nothing lies in between 1 and 2. They're discrete values. I'm saying this because these are ordinal attributes, but you may be sitting there and thinking, well, but Lighton, 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5 are numbers. Well, they're not continuous here. The thing that is in between has no meaning, right? There's nothing in between. So these are discrete values. Anyway, thought I'll mention that also. But we see really that these continuous attributes, we'll be looking at numeric measurable quantities that are continuous, right? So if you look at a grade, for instance, a grade, a percentage score in CSC 4792 ranges between 0 and is going to range between 0 and 100. In between 0 and 100, you shall find people with grades that lie in between, and we've seen this already. If you look at the continuous assessment tracker that we have here, we have people that have 1.04%, 1.21%, 1.25%. So in between 0 and 100, a whole range, right, of values, continuous, right, attributes. Now, it turns out that these continuous attributes are of two main types as well. You have interval and ratio attributes, right? And our so-called interval attributes here will hold values on a scale where the difference between them is meaningful, but there is no true zero. Usually this is a bit confusing, I think, when you're doing this for the first time, because many at times what we find ourselves doing is we mostly work with ratio data. It's rarely the case that you find yourself working with interval attributes, right? It's mostly ratio attributes in terms of continuous attributes. But I took the liberty to provide you with some examples to help you understand. When we're saying that an interval attribute, right, is such that there is no true zero, like zero has no meaning here. Think of temperature, right? If we are saying the temperature is 0 degrees, it's not like we are saying that there's no temperature at all, right? If that makes sense. Yeah, I don't know if this is making sense here. So there's no true zero. The other examples I have here is the time, right? Like midnight is 00, something like that. There's nothing like, there's no zero, right? In actual fact, there's no zero on the scale. Yeah, so that's only major difference here. The fact that if you look at your range of values, there's the zero more or less like wouldn't really have that much of an importance or something. There's no significance to zero, a zero score, if that makes sense. And then, right, you have your so-called ratio attribute, you know, where the zero value here will indicate absence of an attribute. Is it? If you get a 0 here, it means something, right? If that makes sense here. Absence of a mark or something, or failing, like that. And we have a ton of attributes in our student. Unfortunately, our student database doesn't have a classic example of interval attributes, which is why I was giving these examples that are outside. These have nothing to do with our data set, right? Time and a pH scale or something like this, right? So a pH of 0 doesn't necessarily mean that there's no acidity at all, right? Anyways, so you have ratio attributes, right? Again, continuous, but 0. 0 has a meaning, an intrinsic meaning in essence. And to put it all into perspective here, we see that you know, your continuous attributes or your numeric attributes. I prefer not to say numeric attributes, because if we tag these as being numeric attributes, the argument could be, well, these 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5, these are numeric values for ordinal attributes, right? So prefer to use the word continuous attributes. There are two types, you know, ratio attributes and interval attributes, you know. The difference here is in the significance of the 0 itself. It turns out, though, right, that besides these traditional data attributes, there are other modern day attributes that we have got to take into account. I know we are probably beyond text. We're not going to look at any of these different attributes, but it's important for us to talk about them just briefly, nonetheless, right? So that at least we are aware that these things exist, is it? We see that when we are mining data here, we find ourselves dealing with a broad spectrum of other types of attributes. So beyond these traditional, continuous attributes and these categorical attributes, we'll find ourselves dealing with unstructured data like text, right? Textual content. This is what most of us are doing. Not most of us, all of us are working on our respective group-based projects, right? And in terms of the representation, what you soon see when we have a detailed discussion is you can represent text during a transformation in a broad spectrum of ways, right? The simplest one is what I demonstrated using so-called bag of words model. In essence, you are working with 10 frequencies, but you can also use 10 frequency in this document frequencies or other more sophisticated word embeddings like SIBO, for instance, continuous bag of words model. You can use these other sophisticated text embedding techniques, right? Which will normally be applied to semantic search. An example of a field that from our data set that is associated with this unstructured written content is the survey about you column, right? So if you run this code, you'll be able to see the text itself like that. Anyway, beyond that, you also have so-called images. Now, we're not really going to look at, the syllabus doesn't tell us to look at images here, but in essence, when you're dealing with image data, right, you view that data as comprising a grid of pixels. And then if you remember your computer architecture, is it systems or computer architecture? I think it's your computer systems where you look at data encoding, is it? You discovered that the computer doesn't actually know that well, if we fed it this, your phone, my computer doesn't know that there's this text called data, is it? Behind the scenes, you can use things like certain encoding schemes like ASCII, for instance, right? To come up with a representation, like a 1 and 0 encoding representation for each individual character or something like that. I don't know if you remember this, right? So the letter D here can be represented in 1s and 0s or something like that. It turns out that with images, you typically would view an image as comprising of a grid of pixel values. The reason I was mentioning computer architecture here is they told you that the simplest way of encoding an image here is you could say you're going to have is it classical grayscale, is it, where you'd not grayscale that's going to be represented using RGB here, but your classical grayscale where a value will hold just 2 values, right? Black and white, is it? That's the simplest type of representation. But the other more complex representation that is, it could be associated to like images we handle here is you just have your RGB, right? And we see this actually. We've seen this when we're using tools like GIMP, right? When we're using tools like GIMP, we've discovered that, oh, I don't know if is this even an image? No. Ah, okay. I don't know if this is an image here. PNG. I'm going to save this. With stuff such as, if I was to open this in GIMP, for instance, or any image manipulation, software, I know a lot of you probably use things like, I don't know what sort of tools people use here, but I use GIMP myself. We realized that, I'm just going to leave it here, coat of arms, Zambia, like this. I don't know if I'll be able to find this here, but if I were to, and I hope this thing won't, GIMP is resource hungry, sometimes it messes up things here. If I open up the coat of arms, right? If I start if I attempt to manipulate the image itself, what you begin to notice is that if I start playing around with the colors, right? I can manipulate the colors by playing around with these values here, right? So if you're working with RGB, what they'll tell you is that this represents like a pixel representation. Typically, the simplest one would be like a 255 value here, and 255, right? And because these are decimal values, if you convert them to binary here, you'd have like a pixel representation, is it, of the image itself, right? I don't know if you remember this. This is first year stuff, really, to be honest. You don't have to stress so much about this. But it turns out that you can actually play around with Python, I suppose, to a certain extent, and be able to. Well, for one, you can actually use. I think you can use. Is it matplotlib here to view these images? But I think what you may potentially be interested in I guess doing here is to try and use I think this, yeah, try and use the Python image library, for instance, right? So I could do something like import image or something like that, and then I'll do an import numpy as np. Forget about this. I'm not going to use a lot of this, but I just wanted to showcase some of these things, right? I'll just say image is equal to image dot open. I'll open this. Something like this. And then I'll just say convert this to grayscale. And then I can probably just resize the image here. I'll just resize it to 5 by 5, and then I can see the pixel representation of this, right? Array, and then I'll look at the resized image here like this. Then I can do the pixel representation and just check the shape or something, 5 by 5, which is good. And then also I can do this, right? So this is what we're talking about here, like pixel representation of the image, ideally, right? And you know this, right? So there's that. And besides, images, you also have audio data, right? Now, the use cases, I want to argue that there aren't really as many use cases where you find yourself working with audio data. People were amazed here. We were discussing as part of the AI workshop I was helping facilitate last week, or is it this week because today is Saturday? I was telling them that you can use tools like Whisper, for instance, right? In fact, I think I still have this thing open. I was telling them that when you're working with qualitative data, let's say you're trying to analyze interview data, for instance, you can use tools like Whisper to do your transcription. What the average researcher does in Zambia, for instance, in fact, most people at UNZA who do qualitative research, especially those in the humanities, what they'll do is when they collect interview data, if it's a lot of interview data, right? If it's hours and hours on end of interview data, they'll hire a professional transcriber. So a person who's going to listen to the audio recording and manually transcribe. But I was telling my colleagues that with the rise of the machines here, what you can do is you can actually use tools like libraries like Whisper, right? Which is what I've been using myself. So I'll use Whisper to do the transcription here and then come up with a transcript myself. So I'm cutting out the middle person here. I don't have to do that. But if you think about it also, there are potential use cases where you find yourself using data. Look at what they do in Parliament. Like Parliament, sometimes when it's in session here, they'll be streaming live, right? I don't know if you know this here. They'll be streaming live. I'm sure it's playing back right now, right? I'm sure it's playing back right now. I don't have a radio or TV myself, so I'll normally I'll use like VLC, for instance, to listen to the radio, and I like listening to Parliament I don't know if it's Parliament Radio here or Parliament TV, but I like listening to Parliament TV. If you think about it, right, all of these important things that are discussed in Parliament, you must ask yourself, right, is there anybody who even bothers? These, by the way, could be, projects that you can work on, right? I'm sure you can figure out ways of monetizing these kind of like projects. You should ask yourself, is there anybody who, is there an easier way of trying to figure out what is actually happening in Parliament, right? Rather than rely, I've had an opportunity of going to Parliament, and that's they're playing music now. But I've had the privilege of going to Parliament. We're appearing before one parliamentary committee, I remember, as UNZA. And there are people that are hired, believe it or not, right? People whose job is to sit there and they're literally transcribing, right? As people are deliberating, are having these discussions, they're literally typing, right? Transcribing what is being discussed. I don't know about that, right? You can take advantage, you can view that input data, the recordings, as your input data, and then you can implement really trivial models that will be able to do the transcription for you. And then people will be on you saying you're not, I mean, you're trying to get rid of people's jobs here or something like that. But besides audio data, there's also so-called video data. Now, if you think about video data, what you begin to realize is that, wait a minute, video data is actually not different from images, is it? Because if you remember your computer architecture, they told you, I don't know how much of this you remember, but in your computer architecture, they told you that if I go to yesterday's recording, for instance, they told you that, and this is too large here, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to snip it. They told you that I'm just going to start from 0000, and then I'm going to go to, I'm just going to go to, I just want 1 minute here, and then I'll copy everything, is it? I'll call this delete. This is weird naming, delete me, and then we'll call it like that. Now, if you look at this, right? Oh, it's I have a 1 minute long image video like this, and this is horrible because the picture, the images, we hadn't yet started class here, so I can move this to let's say let's start from the 5 minute mark all the way up to the 6 minute mark or something, so that I just get 1 minute of this. Come on, I just want 1 minute of this. Now, if you look at this, right, they'll tell you, well, this is video, right? This is video or something. I don't know why it's this is just going to be, again, this is a bad example. I'm going to go to the 10. Can I get maybe 2 minutes of this? I'll start at the 10 minute mark all the way up to 12 minute mark here. 10 minute mark all the way up to 12 minute mark, so that it's a lot easier. And I'll say yes here. And then I can open this, hopefully to have like a number of images that are somewhat different here. Okay, much better. So they've told us, right, that in as much as we're saying, oh, that's video, right, motion picture, but motion picture is nothing more than a series of images, right? And if you use fancy tools like I love FFmpeg myself. If I feed it delete me here, I can do weird things like extract the frames, right? I'll just assume the frames per second is 1 here. No need to worry about these things. And then I'll call this delete me frame, right? 04. Good. Please, I don't know what that is here. I'm very disappointed with this group. It's a very unruly group. I don't know what's happening. I don't know where we find students, actually, right? I don't know where we find people like this, to be honest. I have no idea where we find people like this. That's very abhorrent behavior. I don't know where students come from these days. It's never like this. So what we've been told is that that is it 1 minute long video actually is a series of frames, right? These are the frames I've extracted, is it? And if I start opening up these frames, right, I'll have, I hope this is done. I have this, right? So this is, and in fact, maybe what I should have done is I should have ordered this by name so that I start with the very first frame, right? Frame number 1 is, it matches what is in the video, right? This. Frame number 2, number 3, number 4, number 5, number 6. And if I start moving here, if I get to, you notice that if I get to this frame number 6, you can notice that as I'm moving here, if I start moving at a much faster rate, right, I'll be mimicking what happens like with motion picture or something like that. Right? So in essence, if you remember computer architecture, computer systems, they told you that video footage or motion picture is a series of images stitched together, right? Which is why when you look at, if you look at, delete me. If you look at, if you were to view, I hope EXIF is going to help me fix it. If you say EXIF tools, if you run EXIF 2 on this, it will give you a value like, I think at some point it will show you something like the frame rate, is it? The frame rate, right? I don't know where it is here, but maybe if I rate or something, or F, frame rate, F per second or something. I don't know, frames per second. Nothing, frame. Yeah, there should be a frame rate somewhere here. I don't know why it's not popping up, right? So, and then you've seen what I'm talking about here. Let's see if I can find this. One of these values is supposed to be, there we go. So the video frame rate, this video that the video that I record, the screencasts are created at 24 frames per second, is it? So meaning that this video, this chunk of this thing that I've created here, this delete me thing here, that is, this is 2 minutes in length. What we're saying is with a frame rate of 24 frames per second, it's like 1 second has 24 images. This is what we're saying, is it? So the question is, what about 2 minutes? 2 minutes is 2 times 60, it's 120 seconds. So in other words, the number of images that were used to create this video footage here, this is stitched together using a total of 120 by 24, which is like 2,880. So the reason I'm saying this is when you find yourself working with video data, in essence, at some point you create this pipeline where you are extracting frames. And usually this is an expensive operation, right? Which is why people use weird things like techniques like keyframe extraction. So out of the series of images, out of these for 2 minutes, out of these 2,880, which ones are important frames? Important because some of the frames will more or less be the same, actually. Right? You're taking them in rapid succession, like that. Anyway, so you have video data. I just thought you'd understand here. And what we are saying here is that there's a broad spectrum of data attributes that we work with, right, when we are mining data. And because we have these different types, the transformation techniques that we use are different. So we see here that beyond the traditional types, we have text, we have images, we have audio, right? And just to mention here that whilst the only modern type of attribute we're going to focus our attention on in CSC 4792 is textual data or textual content, it's important really to know about these other forms of data and how they are handled. Now, when we meet on Tuesday, right, at 17 hours, we are going to start our discussion of part 2, which is the preprocessing. And my thinking is it's going to be important for us to understand first how errors are introduced, how these anomalies are introduced in data, right? How is it that we end up with messy data, for instance? You know, and during a discussion of these different reasons for why we end up with messy data, we'll look at different types of anomalies, most of which we've already introduced. And during our discussion of these anomalies, we'll be looking at detailed techniques that we use to fix the anomalies. Missing data, deduplication, right? Case forwarding, stemming, lemmatization, and all these different things. I'm going to pause here and ask if there are questions. I'm hoping this gives us an idea of this broad topic of so-called data attributes. Are there any questions about this? Okay. If there are no questions, thank you very much, everybody. A reminder for the 2 course reps to come and get the scripts for the others on Monday. I shall be in the office, I believe, I want to say by 11 or 12. You must come and get those scripts, but you can already see the results in the spreadsheet tracker. Please verify. It's important that you verify, I guess. The other thing is today at 23:59, the checkpoint for business understanding is due. If your group does not do this, we will deduct marks, right? If you don't do this by 23:59, you want to make sure that you add my email address and Hudson's email address to both the GitHub repository that you're using as a group, and also the Google Collaboratory notebook that you've created. It's important that you do this by 23:59 today. Something else I wanted to mention is to remind you, I'm not happy with this. I'm not very happy with this. Please prepare for the quiz on the 21st. It's Thursday. It's going to be based on the last lecture that we were covering, lecture series number 3. All right. There's a question from Godfrey. Yes, Mr. Godfrey, sir.
So I want to find out what about if we have some members who are not that active, they are not committing. What do you do in such a case, sir? Because
thank you very much for that wonderful question. You better fix that problem. They're teaching you software engineering, right? You remember project management? How do you motivate people? And you know, one of the reasons why I have students in all the projects, I don't know if I told you this story, but in all the project-centric courses I teach, I do not assign students to group. Students self-organize. And what I'm telling you, Godfrey, is you chose to work with those people, right? You chose to work with those people. But what I can do, though, to incentivize this, nobody forced you here, nobody held a gun to your head. And my thinking is that you know them better than I do. You've been with them for the last 3 years, if not more. But what I can do is I can include, no, this is more work for me, but I can include a peer assessment component to the project, where project team members will anonymously indicate the extent towards which the other team members contributed work. Or you can report them and tell me this person is not actively participating. We don't even know if he's in school. You know, so that we take action. It happens, right? You may be assuming that this person initially joined your team, but maybe they've decided to withdraw or something like that. Or maybe they're sick or something like that and they're unable to proceed. So, you know, if you reach out to them persistently and they're not responsive, let me know. And then we can sort this administratively or sort this issue out administratively. Is that fine?
Sure, sir. I thought it will affect everybody's marks if one person doesn't commit. That's why I asked.
Well, yes, it will, because I want to check, right? I will check. We will check. Me and Hudson, I won't be checking. It's too much work, but we can automate this. We'll go there to your repository and check. Have all the team members actively participated? Right? We'll go to the notebook and check. Right? The edits. I don't know. This is the part where, you know, I worked with people whose work was being done on their behalf, right? Maybe you can do this. You tell them this is a Git command here, copy paste it or something. Install Git and copy paste it with your credentials or something. But please, you know, you guys, please don't cheat, right? don't do, you know how I'm showing you how to, I know you're probably doing this, you characters. Don't do this because they'll catch you, right? You know how, you know how you would say, you have a repository, for instance. You have a repository like this, right? Like this. And then you can check the configuration, is it? You can change the configuration and create it as hi Davis. Can I call you back? Just I'm joining you. I'm just winding up the class. I haven't forgotten about our meeting. Yeah. So try and push them, right? By the way, I wish I had taught you software engineering. You know that these problems, you will find them in industry, right? I have to deal with these problems myself, right there at UNZA when I'm collaborating with people. People are not responsive, right? And maybe they've been given money already, right? An allowance or something like that. Anyway, but report them to me. Hopefully we can sort that issue out. Yes, Mr. Mope.
Yes, thank you, sir. Relating to the grade book, the section for the individual group selection and the selection for the topic.
Yep.
Yeah, I just saw 0 everywhere, so I was wondering.
Yeah, well, I mean, you probably didn't. If you got a 0 here, not probably. If you got a 0 here, it means you decided in your group, you decided not to attempt this assignment before the deadline. The deadline was the 5th. You're supposed to have formed.
The time when you're guiding us on how to choose, you know, the class that we had when you're showing us how to work through that.
Yeah.
That's the time when I actually did it. So I'm wondering why it was still showing 0, because I did it way before the deadline.
No, I don't think so. I mean, I have a checkpoint here. This is for the 5th here. What project team is it?
That's 10. The
so
papers.
as of the last, I look at this later on, but I have checkpoints here. If I go to project team 10, you notice that for project team 10, you did not have one member here indicated. As of the 5th of August, right? You only had these people here, right? These 4 people here.
Yes,
as part of your
4.
team. Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah. So you had an invalid group by then. You had not formed a complete group on the 5th. So you got a 0.
But there's one column for individual selection. So I was wondering why, you know?
Well, it's
the
why
column
because
for individual selection for the group. So
what do you mean there's one column?
there's a column. There's one column on the grade book.
Yeah, so I have it open right now. Do you want to we can go to your entry here. You're saying there's one column. What column? You're talking about this, is it?
Is it the third? Is it the third one? Let me just open it real quick. It's network.
Sorry, I haven't. I should be. I thought I was. I do apologize. I hadn't shared my screen. I'm going to share my screen again. I have it open right now. You're talking about this, right? I'm looking at your entry here. This. You're talking about this individual group selection?
Yeah, that one.
Yeah. So your group, which is group 10 here, got a 0.
Yeah.
All of you from group 10 got a 0 because by then you had not formed a valid group. But guess what? You got a 1 because you had chosen a topic.
Also, for the group selection, it's because of the errors of not choosing the group in time. That's what you're saying.
Yeah, yes, it's because you decided not to work on the assignment. Right? The assignment was clear. By the 5th, what you do is make sure that you form valid groups. Is it?
In fact, wait, it was actually done. It's just
No.
one of the other members.
Okay.
The thingy wasn't in the system. Yeah, I remember now. The one of the people wasn't in the system, so they had to write to you their email.
No,
but I don't know if they never used to attend classes, so they put the computer number.
Yeah, but I
they didn't-
mentioned that you know that I mentioned that you don't have to be in the system. Notice if I had added just 1111 here, this would have been valid. So you don't have to be in the system or registered for you to, and it's the reason why we're using this spreadsheet, right? Because I know at UNZA there'll typically be people that are still not registered, they're still sorting themselves out and stuff, right? So we do things outside
Yes.
of the Moodle like that. Anyway,
Okay, sir,
I'm
but
happy. Yeah, I'm happy to answer these other questions. You can reach out to me and I'll explain these details of why this is the case. I'm trying to push you to take this seriously, by the way. All right. Are there any other thoughts or questions about this? Okay. I think Benaya has a question. Yes.
So regarding the email, the one we're supposed to add to GitHub, we only found the one with lighton.piri@gmail.com. The
Yeah,
one
that's
for
fine.
Unza
That's
we
fine. I've
didn't.
linked my UNZA account to that. So add the same one.
Okay.
Or you can add the
All right.
UNZA one. I'll still get a notification. They're linked.
All right.
Yep.
All right. Thank you.
Thank you very much, everybody. I'm late for my next meeting. Enjoy. Please study for Thursday. Bye for now.
Sir,
Yes,
just
sir.
a moment.
Yep.
I haven't been seeing any of my emails lately. I thought you had added me already.
No, nobody adds you, right? You join.
Yeah, when I
understand you.
joined, you said that when I did so, when I joined, you said I was supposed to receive some updates, but I never received any updates to do with these new with the assignments that you had said.
Okay, just send an email to lighton.piri@unza.zm and say
And
please add
also-
me.
Okay, I will do that. And also, I've actually noticed you actually put 0 in our group for group 10. So I wanted to ask why that was the case.
Yeah, but aren't you in the same group as Mwape?
Yes, I'm in the same group as Mwape, of course. But
But I'm just from explaining why you got a 0 though.
No. I left to just go to the room, so I came late. That's the reason why I had to come in and explain.
Okay, so Mwape will probably give you an update. I've explained why you got a 0 here. Is that fine?
No, sir, it isn't fine for me to get a 0, sir. But you know,
But I'm just telling you that I've explained to your project team member why you got a 0 as a group. So in essence, if I start explaining again, I'll be talking about the same things that I'm talking about. You're saying you're in the same group as Mwape, right?
I said I missed that part. I missed the part where you explained it.
You got a 0 because you did not attempt the assignment as of the 5th of August. You had an invalid group. So as a result, sorry? I'm showing you this right now. This is a save point from 2321 on the 5th of August. Your group was invalid. You understand? That's why you got a 0.
Sir, if I tally the number of people that are in my group right now, there are 5 as we speak. So
yeah, but this is, listen, the grading was as of 5th August. Yeah, what I'm showing you here is a spreadsheet as of 5th August. After 5th August, after I made follow-ups and emails and telling you about this, most of you fixed this.
Exactly. That's the same reason why I'm saying your email. No, I was not receiving your email. So I am lost here, sir. That's what I'm just trying to say. Because I've got people here. The number of people that I have in my group are tallying 5. So of course, and as far as
listen. What I'm going to do is, I'm sure there are people that understand what I'm from explaining. It's like, or if you want, you can reach out to me separately, and then I'll walk you through this step by step so that you understand. You did not attempt the assessment by the 5th of August, and so you got a 0. And it's not just you.
I'm sorry, sir. I wouldn't want to lose those marks, sir.
Well, so then if you don't want to lose subsequent marks, then just do the assignment, right? An assignment is there. And if you're not receiving emails, right, it's your problem here. Because we spent almost an hour in the administrivia lecture explaining, right, that you must join the mailing list. Communication is going to be done using the mailing list. The two course reps sent details in the WhatsApp group. I'm in the WhatsApp group. I saw those things here. So if you're not receiving emails, it's not my fault, right? It's your fault.
No, but it isn't my fault if you yourself are saying that you are acknowledged that I am on the mailing list, which I'm trying to say that
I
I'm not
don't know if
receiving
you're on the
any
mailing list. I'm not acknowledging anything. I'm telling you to say, if you're not receiving emails, send me an email so that I add you on the mailing list. How can I check, right? There's like 190 or so email addresses, both CS assigned and personal email addresses. How do I know who's on the mailing list? I only know if you tell me you're not on the mailing list, right?
I will email you, sir.
Yeah, I don't know. So listen, this is like August 16th, right? If you're not receiving emails, then there's a problem here. And here's the thing, you're working with other people, right? If you don't know about something, then there's a problem with you because you should be interacting with your colleagues and they'll tell you what's going on in your group. You understand this?
Yes, sir.
It's not my fault. And
I do.
I have proved that it's not my fault. The vast majority of people in class did the right thing. So if you did not do the right thing, if you are one of the few people that seemingly have a challenge with this, then there's a problem with you. You understand this?
Yes, sir. I do.
Yeah. Thank you very much, everybody. I'm late here. My colleagues are probably waiting for me and wondering if I'm going to join here. The thing about life, right, is you don't have to wait for me to tell you what to do certain trivial things. You have that WhatsApp group, right? Instead of sharing useless things, you should be asking if you're failing to follow through with things that are happening in class. Just, there's no shame in just asking. You type a message. How do I do this? Right? Or in some instances, you know that there's some people that are much, much smarter than you in that class, right? You ask them, you reach out to them. I'm struggling with this. Can you help me understand this? You also have my details, right? My contact details. I have an open door policy. I've told you my office hours. You can email me. There's some of you that have emailed me, right? So there's a mailing list that is there. All these different resources. So if you're failing to keep up, is a problem there. Sorry, colleagues, I have to go here. I'm late, and these people are going to kill me here. Enjoy the rest of your weekend. I'll see you on Tuesday, promptly at 17. Bye.